Hello guys, welcome back to Premier League predictions. We are back for some more massive Premier League games this weekend that affect the title race, the race for Champions League football and the race for survival down at the bottom. As always, I'm joined by Sophie. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. And how are you?
Yeah, the scores from midweek so far, because we're recording this Thursday afternoon, so far it's 6-6. It's a draw, but that means overall Sophie is still slapping me about 10 points in front.
Good. That's how I like it.
I'm beating you in Championship, but you're beating me in the Premier League. Before we get into the video, guys, you know what to do. Hit the like button. Let's go for 2,000 likes. We set that as the like target in midweek, and we came so close, but we didn't do it. Make sure every single one of you hits that like button because there's some big games this week. Make sure while you're there that you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It's free to subscribe, and we've got so many videos coming out over the next week or two. With all of that said, Sophie,
let's get into it.
Let's get into the predictions. And we're going to start at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace versus Manchester City, Sophie. Great result for Man City in midweek, beating Villa 4-1. Villa weren't at their strongest, I will point out. They're missing a couple of players, but...
Yeah, they had good spells, though. They did, like, first half, and you think, OK, they're very much in this. And then second half, Man City did Man City and just tore them apart.
It was the perfect response to the 0-0 draw against Arsenal at the weekend. They've put themselves back in the frame to win the Premier League and they're scoring goals again. And to be honest, without being too disrespectful to the rest of the league, I look at Man City's remaining games and think they are capable of winning all of them.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's probably what they're going to have to do if they want to win the league. But although it might sound very difficult for Man City, they can make it look easy. Yeah. They take on Palace, and Palace are on 30 points from 30 games. You would imagine they're probably going to be okay this season, but I did say before their last two games against Forest and Bournemouth that they could do with 2 or 3 points because their next games afterwards are Man City and Liverpool. They've come away with 1 point, a draw at Forest and a defeat to Bournemouth. So Palace, although they probably will be okay, are still looking over their shoulders. And I'm going to go Palace 0, Man City 2.
OK, I'm going to say 3-0 Man City. Yeah, it seemed like Man City found their scoring boots against Aston Villa, and I feel like it's going to be the same again against Crystal Palace. So for me, quite easy 3-0 win.
Yep. But you're not too worried about Palace, or are you?
No, I think... or are you? I like what you did there.
I didn't mean that.
No. I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think they should be. To be honest, it might be 30 points is just enough this season, so even if they lost all of their games, which is not particularly likely, they might still be okay anyway. On to the next one, Sophie. Let's go to Villa Park, where it is Aston Villa versus Brentford. Now, we've just spoken about Villa, Sophie. It wasn't a great result against Man City, but do you know what? I'm going to try and put a positive spin on things here, Sophie. They were missing a couple of players. There was no Watkins or Martinez, I believe. And to lose to Man City is not a disgrace. And at the same time, Tottenham dropped points in the week to West Ham. So Villa have retained in 4th place. They've held on to it. So it could have been worse. It could have been worse.
It could have been much worse, yeah.
And you look at this fixture and you think, I think Villa go back to winning ways here.
I agree.
And, you know, although it looks really close between Villa and Tottenham, I just think Villa maybe have been that little bit more consistent this season. But there's not a lot between them. There's not a lot between them. So Villa have to keep winning. And against Brentford, I don't think it will be easy. Brentford are not a bad team, and I don't think they a team I would usually associate with being down near the bottom. But they seem to be struggling to score goals. They play well, they've got good players, but they're just struggling to get it in the back of the net. Therefore, I'm going to go for a low-scoring Aston Villa 1-0.
Yeah, I actually agree. I'm going to say 1-0 Villa. I think they just edge it for me. Brentford's been quite draw-heavy recently, and I think they'd be fairly happy with another draw again this game. They've not been at their best this season, to say the least. And as I say, I think they'd be fairly happy with a draw. And that's why I can see it being quite a cagey, low-scoring one. But Villa have the quality for me, and they need a win now. So 1-0. Yeah,
1-0. Villa, obviously, trying to fight for 4th place. Brentford still potentially looking over their shoulders. I mean, the problem is for the teams like Palace, Brentford, Everton, they're not getting a move on, which means they're not quite safe yet.
No, there's not a nice enough gap, is there?
No, but then at the same time, the teams in the bottom three are not getting enough results to put the pressure on, so it's kind of like a stalemate, isn't it? Well, talking about the Premier League relegation battle, Sophie, let's go to Goodison Park for Everton versus Burnley. And I like this one. Everton have struggled for wins recently. They are struggling for wins. That said, a 1-1 draw away at Newcastle is very good. It's a very good draw.
It is actually, yeah.
So despite them still going another game without a win, I think that's a very, very good draw. And to score late on with Calvert-Lewin's penalty kind of puts things right after they'd lost so late to Bournemouth through a mistake. And they take on Burnley, Sophie. And Burnley, they're what?
Really good draw.
Four games unbeaten now or something? Most of them are draws, but I think that it's 1 win and 3 draws in the last 4 games. And you predicted them to draw 1-1 with Wolves.
Yes.
So, fair play.
Yeah, got that right.
This is difficult, and it's obviously the sort of Sean Dyche derby, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
And you've got to say, Sophie, although I think Sean Dyche is probably going to keep Everton up, if he loses this one to his former club, it really does put the cat amongst the pigeons and put Everton under serious pressure. The thing is, though, Everton have the home advantage, so I think they'll be able to at least avoid losing. But Burnley are playing pretty well, and they can't afford to lose.
No.
Ideally, Burnley need to win. But if they can draw, it kicks the can down the road and everyone's still where they are. So I'm going to go for that. Everton 1, Burnley 1.
Yeah, I'm torn between a 1-1 and a 0-0. I do see this one being a stalemate. I often go for a draw when both teams almost feel like they can't lose.
Yeah.
So they don't really go for it. So that's why I could see it being quite a low scoring one. I think I'm going to stick with the 1-1. I think there probably could be a goal apiece, but yeah, I'm just struggling to separate the two, and that's why I'm going down the middle on this one.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite games this week, actually, because although some people might look at that and think, oh, it's not very inspiring, I love the 6-pointers.
Yeah.
I love the 6-pointers. And I've said for a while, I think Everton will stay up. But Burnley are just starting to put a little bit of pressure on themselves, because if things carry on the way they are, then Burnley are the best threat to staying up rather than Luton out of the bottom 3. On to the next game, Sophie. Let's go to Craven Cottage. It's Fulham versus Newcastle United. I remember these two playing in the FA Cup a few months ago, and Fulham played pretty well, but Newcastle were just more ruthless, and they won this game. Now we're in the Premier League. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Newcastle again. Now, both Fulham and Newcastle didn't get a great result in midweek. Fulham lost at Forest. They were 3-0 down at half-time. Not very good from them. Newcastle United only managed the draw, and they conceded late on against Everton. So both sides will be looking for a reaction. I just feel like Newcastle will be more frustrated with what happened, and they're in that position where if they can get the wins together, they can still make Europe. So let's go Fulham 1, Newcastle 2.
Okay, I'm actually going to go for another draw. I tend to back Newcastle more at home, to be honest, and I feel like they're more than capable of getting something here, and I can see why you're backing them to win, but I actually see this being an entertaining draw. I'm going to go for a Desmond on this one. 2-2.
Yeah, it's certainly got the potential to be like that. Two decent attacking teams. I think both teams will score as well. Share your thoughts, guys, on Fulham versus Newcastle. It does sound a decent matchup. This is a big one, Sophie. Let's go to Kenilworth Road, where it is Luton Town versus AFC Bournemouth. And obviously, straight away, Sophie, this game reminds me of the 4-3 only a few weeks ago. Luton Town have got to get something this time.
Yeah, they do.
They have got to. I would go as far as to say that game at the Vitality, that game could be pivotal come the end of the season, and really a mental crush to Luton Town, because they were
3-0 up.
Yeah, they were 3-0 up and they lost that game.
Yeah. The pain.
They've been competitive all season, and considering at the start of the season most people thought they'd be the least competitive out of the 3 teams to come up, you've got to give them credit for that. But are they going to be a nearly team? A nearly team where they've come up, everyone's enjoyed them, but they just didn't quite do it. I'd love to see them do it, Sophie, because, you know, they barely spent any money, really, when they came up. And what a story it would be with Rob Edwards and Tom Lockyer and all that's happened to that club with the 30 points deductions years ago. But have they got the quality against Bournemouth, who are winning week after week at the moment. That 4-3 win has been really crucial to Bournemouth as well, because they've now won 3 or 4 in a row. Do you know what? Because it's at Kenilworth Road, I'm so tempted to go for a draw, because I think Luton can get something. But I am going to go for Bournemouth. They are being ruthless at snatching the points off everyone at the moment. Luton 1, Bournemouth 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't often go against Bournemouth, and I do quite like them, and I do actually really hope that they do well. But for this one, I actually see Luton really having to battle and grinding out a point. I do think they're going to hold Bournemouth to a point, so I'm going to say 1-1.
Yeah.
I'm going quite draw heavy this week.
You are, but is a draw good enough? It's okay.
Oh, you ask me all the time, is a draw good enough? Yeah, well, it's something, but you're at home, so really you need to look to win.
Yeah. Luton have lost away to Tottenham and Arsenal in their last 2 games. It's no disgrace. They were not the favourites to win those games. This is more winnable. But it's still difficult.
Yeah.
On to the next one then, Sophie. It's Wolverhampton Wanderers versus West Ham United at Molineux. They both drew 1-1 in midweek, and I'm going to go for a draw this time.
Okay.
1-1. Not a lot to separate them. Potentially 2 teams that have fizzled out a little bit recently.
Yeah, so that's fair.
They've both still got the potential to end the season quite strong, and they're both in a good position to be finishing in Europe. But it feels like Wolves have fizzled out over the last few games, and like I say, the same for West Ham. West Ham need to keep their levels high and their motivation high, because they've got a Europa League game against Bayer Leverkusen next week.
Yeah.
A draw's not a disaster for both, so I'm going to go for a draw. I think they're 2 good teams, if we're being honest, but 2 teams that could do with a win, but I'm going to go for a draw.
Yeah, I think this is 2 pretty evenly matched teams at the moment, and I genuinely could see this going either way. I can't separate them by much, but I am going to pick a winner, because I've not done that much this video, and I'm going to lean towards Wolves. I'm going to say they just edge it 2-1.
Oh,
Which would be a big 3 points.
The West Ham fans are not going to be happy. The West Ham fans.
Sorry.
But do they have a chance against Bayer Leverkusen?
They do, but Bayer Leverkusen are playing unreal this season.
They are, but who knows? West Ham have been pretty good in Europe.
Yeah.
On to the next one, Sophie. It's Brighton versus Arsenal. Surely Arsenal are going to keep winning games, Sophie. They've got to. When it comes to the title race, as we said, whoever slips first, they're out. Honestly, Arsenal probably have to win all of their games.
Yeah.
As for Brighton, Sophie, decent team. Got a 0-0 against Brentford. Played some decent stuff. I reckon they'll give it a go. They might get a goal, but Arsenal to come out on top. I'm going to go Brighton 1, Arsenal 2.
I'm actually going to go quite heavy in favour of Arsenal, actually. I feel like they need to just keep grinding out the wins and doing it convincingly as well, because that's going to do the whole team the world of good confidence-wise. And I think they're more than capable of putting a few past this Brighton side at the moment. So 3-0 to the Gunners for me.
Wow. 3-0 Arsenal?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay. I mean, to be fair, it's a difficult one, because Arsenal are very good. So for them to win 3-0 is not a massive surprise. But Brighton are all right.
They're all right. I'm not saying that they're a bad team,
You
but
are.
they can have a bad day. And I think they're going to have a bad day.
I'm messing with you. Okay, Sophie, how about this? Let's do it. Old Trafford, Manchester United versus Liverpool.
This has the potential to be a really good game or a really boring 0-0.
Yeah.
There's no in between for me.
But surely Jurgen Klopp knows a 0-0 won't be good enough.
Not enough, no.
Because as we keep saying in the title race, you have to keep winning. And it's in Liverpool's hands. In Liverpool's hands. If they win all of their games, they win the league. Man United are a tricky one, Sophie. They're good and bad. You know, they've got good players. They're just not consistent.
Yes.
But we know that they can give Liverpool a game. It's like they raised their game for Liverpool because they're rivals.
Against Liverpool, yeah.
Now, they did beat them 4-3 at Old Trafford in the FA Cup, but I'm sure Liverpool fans will be quick to tell me it wasn't Liverpool's strongest 11, so take as much as it from you can from that one going into this one. But we must also say it was a 0-0 draw when these two faced at Anfield. Man United fans were loving that draw.
They were.
I think it could be similar where it's low scoring, especially with Man United and Liverpool playing on the Thursday, so both teams haven't had a lot of recovery time. Manchester United 1, Liverpool 2.
Okay. I'm going to go for the same. 2-1 Liverpool. I know we've said with Man United that they're a little bit inconsistent, but they do raise their game for Liverpool. They're more than capable of turning up and putting in a good performance and getting 3 points, to be honest. I know they've got a couple of injuries, so that may play a part in this, because I don't think they've got their strongest back four at the moment. So Liverpool should be licking their lips at that and thinking, do you know what, just go all out attack, just absolutely pepper them with shots. And I actually see Man United going 1-0 up, but Liverpool turning it around and winning 2-1.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think what I want to see from Jurgen Klopp is a real bravery, you know. A lot of people have given Mikel Arteta credit for getting that 0-0 draw at Man City last week, but Liverpool have to win at Man United for me. I think, although I've backed them to win and backed them to win the league, if Liverpool don't win this game, even a draw, and they won't be my favourites for the title anymore.
No.
They won't be. They've got to win.
Yeah,
but I think they're capable. And as for Manchester United, as we said, they can give them a game, but we must also point out they've lost 7-0 and 5-0 to Liverpool before in recent years. So who knows? On to the next one anyway, Sophie. Let's go to Bramall Lane, where it is Sheffield United versus Chelsea. Sheffield United, Sophie, are they gone?
I think so. I've been saying it for a little while now, but it's looking more and more likely.
The thing is, every time we say they're gone now, they'll get a draw or something, and you're like,
delay it.
Are they still here? Chelsea's a difficult one. Chelsea seem to be better against the better teams. So I'll give Sheffield United a goal, but I'm going to say Chelsea win. It does seem like Chelsea's form has actually improved a bit recently. So I'll go Sheffield United 1, Chelsea 3.
Do you know what? I'm actually going to throw in an upset. 2-1 Sheffield United. Just because, I don't know why, but I can actually see them getting a result. You know when you think, nah, they're not going to get anything from this, and they get like a draw or something, I think they might actually get a win.
Well,
yeah, I feel like Chelsea won't really turn up. Similar to the performance they put in against a 10-man Burnley side, where you thought, that wasn't very convincing. I think the same again this weekend. Sheffield United 2-1.
Wow. I mean, it's not impossible.
Well, it's not.
There's been some signs recently that are not too bad, but there you go. Share your thoughts on Sheffield United versus Chelsea, guys. On to the final game, Sophie, which is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham versus Nottingham Forest. This one is obviously a matchup of the 1991 FA Cup finalists. Sophie, Forest got a great result in midweek.
They did. Yeah, I didn't see that happening. You called them to win, to be fair, but it was a very, very good performance. Not just a win, it was a good performance as well.
I said 2-1 to Forest against Fulham, and they won 3-1. Yeah. They were 3-0 up at half-time. They were so good, but it's a difficult one. Obviously, you can't maintain those levels for 90 minutes. It seemed as if Forest in the second half just thought, we've got enough of a lead here to just think, let's be a little bit more careful. But Fulham did push them, and they got a goal back. So we saw two sides to Forest's game there. Good going forwards, a little bit vulnerable at the back, but also good enough and resilient enough to get the win.
Sit on the line.
They take on Tottenham, Sophie, who I think it was a missed opportunity to draw at West Ham.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't enough, really, was it?
No. So they've got to win this, whereas Forest would be pretty happy with a draw here. As much as I back Forest, and I've backed them to win their last two games, and they picked up 4 points, which is okay. It's taken away the deduction now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go with Spurs on this one. I prefer Forest at the City Ground. So I think now that they've picked up those points from those last couple of games, losing this isn't a disaster. I'm going to go Spurs 2-1. I think it will be close. And I think there could be Forest taking the lead and Spurs doing what they do, coming from behind. Spurs 2, Forest 1.
Okay. I'm actually going to go for a draw on this one. Yeah, there's definitely some promising signs for Forest. Agree, though, they are a better side at home. So they need to bring their A game to this one. But I actually think they're capable of getting a draw. So 1-1 for me.
There you go. I mean, everyone says I'm a Forest fan. You're the one backing them to get something. Are you a Forest fan?
Not a win, but yeah, you don't know what's on underneath this.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, a draw would be a very good result for Forest and Tottenham.
Yeah.
I believe since they've come up, they've lost all 3 games against Spurs in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But they did beat them in the Carabao Cup last year. I'm sure Forest fans will know that's true. I think they did. I think it was 2-0. Well, there you go, guys. Tottenham and Forest fans, share your thoughts on that one as well. That wraps up our Premier League predictions for another week. The Premier League will be back next weekend, so do join us for that. As I say, always make sure to drop a like, get your predictions down below as well, and subscribe. It's free to subscribe, so what have they got to do?
Subscribe.
And thank you for joining me today, Sophie.
Thank you.
We will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.